You see last 3 4 years, a lot of users would like to try the product before even talk to anybody in in your organization, right? Primarily, if you see, it has been a sales led motion or a marketing led motion, but eventually what I saw is product led growth helps you to have a long term sustainable business.
Welcome to the Thrive Stack Community Podcast series. My name is Gururaj and I'll be the host for your show. And with me, we have our famed community product manager, Anushka. As we launch our inaugural podcast, let me take a brief moment on describing what we're trying to do and share the excitement behind our venture. You may have noticed there are numerous podcasts on the growth and monetization topics. We follow them as well, and they're truly excellent, specifically tailored to empower your sales and marketing teams and get you thinking about how to make money, the big moolah that we talk about. However, there's a notable shortage of resources for the builders and the operators, the practitioners, the men and women who tirelessly strive to create and build things. And that's exactly why we decided to create a show for those people who aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. Building and managing the entire growth stack requires an understanding of the bigger picture implement in smaller and calculated iterations. These practitioners face numerous decisions along the way. Which tools they have to choose, how to integrate these tools into the product, how much data to analyze, where do we take this data and store it, which experiments they have to conduct, and numerous such things. Recognizing these challenges, we are introducing a series of these podcasts aimed squarely at the growth practitioners. These include the founders like you, the growth product managers, as well as those in the growth engineering and operations team. Our aim is to provide the platform that fosters the technology sharing and inspires you to go and build something unique. We are going to dive deep into a broad spectrum of topics, including how do you build product capabilities, go to market strategies, implement pricing decisions in your product, and so much more. With a focus on practitioners, you can expect plenty of hands on labs, product demos, and industry insights. And yes, did we say demos and hands on labs? Yes, that's right. Our aim is to cut through all the jargon, all the architecture, and help you build and try things for yourself. Ultimately, our goal is to empower you, the SaaS builders of all sizes, to survive and thrive. We're looking to embark you on this exciting journey with you. Thank you and enjoy the show. Let me introduce the guests. I'll start with myself. I'm Gururaj. You usually go by Guru. I'm a two times founder in cloud and security companies. Recently, I've been dabbling on a venture in growth and monetization. With me, we have Suman, who's the director of product management at Multiplier, a global employment enablement platform. He's got a long career in building products on SLG, PLG, with Microsoft and a whole bunch of other companies out there. Suman, why don't you tell a little about your background and maybe lay a little bit of focus on what interested you to pursue product management and product growth?
I started as an engineer, right? And then way up to the product management. The product management was an accident. Uh, what I realized was product management role at the company that I was working with, it was not well defined. So I took a step into it and said, okay, let me define this role. It was way back, I think, a decade back. That actually stemmed interest around building awesome products, which will meaningful to the company and to the users and get value out of it. That's where my product management journey started. What led to me to bring more concentration or interest to product led growth was, if you see last 3 4 years, try the product before even talk to anybody in in your organization, right? Primarily, if you see, it has been a sales led motion or a marketing led motion, but eventually what I saw is product led growth helps you to have a long term sustainable business, right? That's where I started learning about product led growth and implementing some aspects of it throughout my career. Why don't you share about your experiences around product led growth?
It's a very interesting journey. I've worked in companies which were partner led. I built my own startups which were mostly partner led, and my last journey after the acquisition was primarily on the sales led, and somewhere in between, you know, in the last maybe 3 to 4 years time, we started seeing a trend that the end users want to go try the product by themselves without actually talking to the sales guys. We were starting to beef up our sales team, and then that's where we realized this is the case. you know a different statistics. So while I was running the business unit, for on a cloud security basis, we spent about closer to 4.5 5 million, on various SaaS products that we were buying and acquiring. Could be databases, could be developer tools, could be marketing and sales tools, for that particular business unit. The realization hit me when um, developers, some of the sales guys, they went ahead and they tried products by themselves. And when they actually hit the limits, for example, some of my developers went ahead. We were building a Golang based platform, and there were not many developer tools to allow you to debug, to be able to go build, to be able to go connect with your GitHub repositories. So JetBrains was one of them. Of course, there was Visual Studio and various tools out there, but JetBrains apparently became very popular with some of our developers, and about 40 of them, they were trying these particular products, and they started hitting limits. After a month or two of the trial, and they ganged up together, and they asked us for buying licenses. What I realized was very funny. We couldn't even talk to anyone at JetBrains. Everything there was pretty much online, so we had to go, take out our corporate credit card and buy 40 licenses. And then there were this interesting tiering that, hey, if you're buying from 0 to 5 or 10 licenses, you get like a baseline discount, which is about 5%, or so. I don't even know that if everyone's buying online, why would you want to have 5%? But maybe that interests other people. But then, there are various tiers now. So we started thinking about, hey, we have about 150, 200 odd developers across the board. 40 of them are now asking for discounted deals. On this one, what about the rest 100? So should we go by the next tier? So we were like constantly thinking about it. We had the same thing with feature flag implementation. Launch darkly versus something else. Internally, some of our documentation team, they started writing their documents on Notion, and they started sharing across the board saying that, hey, this is a Notion document. Some teams went ahead and the marketing teams primarily, when they went out to build trade shows, even the trade show forms were all Airtable. Say, hey, could you join us for this event? And even the forms, they were not HubSpot or Salesforce, they were Airtable. And to the amusement, we had a lot of people who started to use Airtable, so we had to go buy a corporate license for that. So that started, showing across the board that much of the buying that we starting to do, which was about more than one-fourth of the purchase spend that we had, was all self-service. So that led me to start looking up what's this revolution around. And then it led me to kind of start looking up. There's this gentleman called Darius Contractor. I think he was a head of growth at Facebook when Facebook started having a concept of growth, right? So he wrote an article about the psych framework,
Mm-hmm.
and we try to implement that. It's a very simplistically put. The psych framework goes something like this. The end user is discovering your product. He has a psych ratio or a psych score, of, let's say, 50%, which means he's neither biased, towards your product, nor biased, to go against your product. So let's say it's a 50% score. He comes in, he signs up to your product, and he likes beautiful UI. So you add, let's say, 5% score on top of it. So he's now at 55% psych score. And then over time, let's say he gets, you ask him beautiful questions. He understands why, you show him some intent screens like the job to be done screens. His psych score goes slightly higher up. But the moment you ask him, hey, give me your email ID, give me some personal information, the psych score goes down. Then you ask him, hey, give me your credit card, the psych score goes down. So if the psych score goes way below where he started, usually, he's not going to be buying, right? Usually he's churning away. And then I started reading this. Does this make sense at all? This was Facebook, and most people don't put their credit cards on Facebook. Does it apply anywhere else? Then I found these examples on Amazon.com, buying it on Azure, buying it on AWS, buying HashiCorp tools, buying HubSpot, and this pattern apparently started appearing everywhere. When I started looking, I guess it started appearing everywhere. So my experiences on growth has been, over time, slightly building towards that notion that very likely um, the big plays out there, in the next 1 or 2 years might become just purely self-serve or PLG led, and then that leads into maybe SLG over a period of time. But I think that balance of both PLG and SLG is here to stay.
Yeah,
That's just my
great.
experience. Yeah.
Great. I think great examples that you narrated from your experience, right? Maybe in the context as you touched upon self-serve, right? Let me bring my own experience at Multiplier.
Hmm.
As you know, as you rightly said, Multiplier enables the global employment, right? For example, let's take your scenario. Let's say you want to hire somebody in, let's say, in Argentina, right? I'm just giving an example. Typically what you do, you have to go set up a legal entity, find the talent, find a payroll person, find the right insurance to be compliant in that payroll. It might take approximately 6 to 7 months, 8 months to do all of this, right? And sometimes you don't even know where to start. You don't even know how to start, right? And especially in SMBs and startups, this 6 7 months, 8 months is golden, right? You don't want to
Hmm.
lose a business. So that's where we come in, right? Let's say you go to some social website or Google on, hey, how to hire person in Argentina. We pop up as one of the search options. You as a user click on it, log into our platform, you play with the system, you onboard some person. In 10 minutes, you have a contract,
Hmm.
you have a person mapped to Argentina, and the person is ready to work with you in next 24 hours, right? That's a self-serve realization. That's aha moment that I as a product manager realized, and also we have given the
Beautiful.
power to the
Okay.
customer and user, right? So within less than 24 hours versus 8 months, not 9 months, and some situations you don't even know how to start. You're now up and running in that country, right? Within 24 hours. That's the simplicity of self-serve. Now as a user, you have realized the value already, right? And without talking to anybody in the world, right? That's the first step that we started moving towards. Hey, you know what? Let's give power to the user. Let them play with the product. Let them use in the way they want to be in their context. Suddenly start realizing the value, right? That's when, yeah, did we move away from sales-led motion? Not yet. But this is small steps that we're making towards. And as we bring the funnel, this is one lead, qualified lead that's going into the sales lead. But I think this is exactly what we're trying to get to as an aha moment for that
Yeah.
user
So I think
in that
someone
moment.
what yeah looks like what you're saying is this has a power effect on both sides of the equation. The end user is able to go discover and try the product without actually talking to the sales team, right? It's a little low friction. They can do it at home or on their own free time, and within like hour or two of the trying the product, they are starting to get the sense of, hey, this whether I can solve the problem that they have in their minds or not, right? That's power to them. But I think what you're also telling is, companies like Multiplier is able to, from a startup business standpoint, from a business standpoint, you are now able to go and check out, of course, probably is backed by data, that there are so many end users, they're trying the product, they're dropping off, they are churning away, they're signing up, but they're not logging in back again. All of this information, you're now able to assimilate that. You're able to analyze and understand what are the things that customers like. So instead of you building things in silos, you actually are now a lot more attuned to the to the end user's requirement. I think this, I guess that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Did I get that right?
yeah, exactly. I think you touched upon a very important point. So did we build this on day zero? No, not yet. We The key was having a deep empathy of the customer and the user in the context that they want to work on. We have done a lot of customer interviews. We met the potential prospects. Uh, we had a lot of data, qualitative and quantitative, on the platform to gather the information where exactly user getting stuck, what exactly user looking for. We had to collect data at least for a quarter or so, right? And we keep on continuously iterating on the product. The 10 minutes or 15 minutes of aha moment was not an overnight journey, right? We had to spend good amount of time dissecting the each and every part of the journey, right? And not everybody in the organization, including me, know this space very well. So we have to go deeply, understand the domain, understand the community, understand the users, right? So you brought up a very important point that, have you looked at the data? Data is the crucial part of in that, right? Without that, I don't think we will be able to crack that product led or a self-serve awesome experience to the users.
Yeah. So, Suman, maybe could you share a little bit of insights on, as a product manager? I mean, you had the product management, function at Multiplier. How did you guys go think about that self-serve should become part and parcel of, the general experiences that the product should have? I think you mentioned that you were primarily sales led, and then you started adding self-serve. I mean, that's a very rare scenario where I'm seeing, uh, you know early stage startups or mid stage startups are able to kind of pivot a little bit, but large scale companies who have either gone IPO or they have a massive, like almost 99% of their entire function is all sales led. It's very difficult for them to pivot. So how did you guys think about implementing self serve and adding, self serve as a motion alongside with your SLG?
Great question. I think a lot of things happened, but I'll see if I can concise in next few minutes, right? So as you know, in SLG, what happens is the customer acquisition and translating a customer qualified lead into a customer takes long time, right? Typically in our space, it may be, sometimes it may go up to 25K, right? And more than that, depending on which segment you are in. That's when it hit us, right? And and fortunately, our founders are so tuned that yes, in the long term, it's a product game that we're going to play. That's when this thought seeded in all of us that, is there a way that we can give power to the end user and the customer, do a self demo, self serve, get the value out of it, and then come to us? Hey, what does it mean to translate into a customer or buying customer, right? That's when this thought seeped into us, right? The self serve, the A led, the sales led, people were able to go demo. The demo spends, there are a lot of questions on the product. Hey, does it really add value? How much cost I will incur? How much money I will save? All that questions, sales was handing the demo, and it goes to multiple iterations. It would
Hmm.
take 2 3 months of sales cycle to translate a customer, right? And and what we realized is we are losing a lot of momentum and gain, right? So we slowly transition, saying that, hey, why not we give power to the end user and customer and try it out. Slowly, that's where the small tilt happened. Initially, it was not an easy journey because the ACV that comes out of the self-serve was not so big. There are small customers, small users, small time users with 2 3% employees, right? But it's not a story adding value with layered approach with SLG and PLG. They started adding value, so that now the funnel on the top of the funnel looks very much qualified. Right? The transition, the percentage of moving from a qualified lead to customer has drastically improved. Right? So we want to continue on this journey, and we strongly believe. I think, Guru, this is, you can also share some insights from your experience. I don't think PLG is only way that you can drive the growth. You have to leverage all three growth engines, and it has to be a laid approach, and it has to be a collaborative approach across the departments, right? So that's my journey. When that's, I want to understand from you, how was you, how you did two startups. How was your journey? Was there any experience that you can share?
Yeah, yeah. I think, what you said, maybe let me build upon that a little bit and then get to my experiences. What I think what you're saying is, SLG and PLG together, or probably even MLG, the marketing led growth. all three of them go hand in hand. It's not one or the other, it's all three together. So marketing probably has a bigger function to come and attract and get the end users to land on your landing pages, get the value proposition associated to it. So there's an aspect of PMM, there's an aspect of marketing, there's an aspect of getting the word out, right? That's important. But then PLG becomes, an important first step towards growth. Now the end user are on your website. What do they do? Typically, if you have a contact us page, that's friction, right? So either, I think I've seen so many websites. I've talked to many startups across the board. It's the easiest thing for them to go put up is, hey, take a HubSpot, contact form and put it on the website, and then start collecting the leads. And they think that, hey, these leads will probably translate over, and that's marketing led. But the conversion rate is pathetic on that. Most people are coming in just for finding out, either some content or some webinar or some white paper that they get their hands on to, but most of them will not convert. Right? It's less than maybe 1.5% of it. I think the next big barrier to that is after they have landed on your page is where PLG comes into play. Instead of having a contact us form, if you're able to put in, hey, sign up for free trial or do a freemium or some kind of sign up experiences around it, and that can come from various places. I was talking to some startup the other day. Their primary go-to-market motion is not their website. Their market motion is coming in because they are a developer-led company. Their channels are primarily the AWS marketplaces and the Azure marketplaces of the world, rather than having on their website. So even though they put up a sign up trial on their web pages, they found almost 90-95% of their discovery or the end user discovery and the sign up experiences are all coming in from the AWS marketplaces or Azure marketplaces. So, now coming back to my own experiences around this, if you're a successful company with SLG motion, adding PLG is extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. We tried that on ourselves. We had to go figure out and get get conversations with the leadership team whether, if we are building this together, there are tooling that's necessary, there's spend that's necessary. We'll have to go build a growth team that didn't exist. We had to also build up the self-serve experiences within the product that didn't exist. We had to go build up the data analytics on who's the end user, enrich the end users, try to find out from them whether they are just trying to, are they your competitors who are just trying to, gauge value from your product, or they real end users, or they, real large customers, just trying to understand that entire spectrum of who are these end users, which company they belong to, is what I'm referring to as enrichment. We didn't have that, right? So the whole bunch of investments one has to do to get to PLG, get to self-serve, and that takes an effort. It takes the leadership to think very differently. And if the leadership is, still thinking that, hey, we want to go after some large deals, and any deal sizes would be, mostly enterprise deals. Any deal sizes should not be less than 30K, 50K, ARR. In that case, PLG motions don't come into existence. So leadership would not, shell out, any money towards that. Very rarely have seen that leadership team would sit down and understand that, hey, this is a changed ecosystem. The ecosystem is very different. The companies like Sneak, they started doing PLG recently. GitHub was always PLG. GitLab started adding PLG. So I'm starting to see a lot of this on the security ecosystems, developer ecosystems, but not so much on maybe B2B finances, B2B healthcare. There's a whole bunch of other areas that slowly starting up, and maybe there are some statistics around which industries are likely to go PLG. And maybe I'd like to learn more about that as well. But I think adding PLG to an existing successful SLG motions is very, very difficult. But adding SLG to a successful PLG motion is actually much more easier, right? The PQLs, the PLS, the product-led sales assist, they are still lesser friction, The data, if you have the data, getting to analyze the data and getting to sales led motion is actually much more easier than building an entire function around PLG. I can just some random thoughts, but do you generally agree with what my experiences were, Asuman?
I think you brought up a few great insights, right? Throughout my journey, if you see when I worked at ADP, it was purely sales led, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at Microsoft, it was a combination of all three, right? There are some products where we are driving purely on sales and marketing, and then there are products which are driven by product, right? Uh, and at Multiplier, we started with sales. Slowly, we are making movements to product led, right? But one thing as a common theme that I've observed across all three is you as a company, as a leadership from day zero, have to have a thought process around this. How do you want to grow, right? What kind of investment you want to make today, in the short term, in the long term, right? And if you have that thought initially, when do you make the movement, what is the timing of it? Resources may go through here and there, but as a thought process, if you have already built into your leadership, into your process, I think the journey becomes easier, right? But if you're not thought about it initially, and for example, the very it's common sense point that you made, hey, contact us with self-serve. How we build the product, how we build the sales engine around this is totally different, right? Today sounds very simple. Hey, why don't you have just self sign in and then, like, but how you build that self sign in, how do you ensure that the value that you want to bring into the customer is not lost, is the is a thought process that you should as a company have initially thought through. Once you have it, journey will become much easier. But
Yep, absolutely.
I've seen companies not able to transition well because they didn't have this product mindset or a user mindset initially. Right? Great insights, and that I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
transition vice versa has not been easy journey for me as well.
Yeah, and compliments to you for sharing this, on a podcast like this, which is why we are bringing these topics, a little more deeper topics. That's our hope. Suman. Our hope is that podcast like this will help people understand how to think about growth. In fact, we're trying to go beyond growth. We are thinking about how do we make them thrive. I think that the word thrive has a bearing that we are starting to think about it a little more. Is sure enough there is growth, but there is a healthier growth. The growth is not just grow at all costs, but it is a lot more healthier. So we want to help SaaS builders around the world to really thrive in that space. With that, let's close on this particular topic. Thank you so much for watching the show. And if you have any more teaser topics, any more topics that you would like to suggest, please do suggest us on either on the community Slack, or on our Substack channel. Thank you again, gentlemen. Now it's your turn to join the conversation. We invite you to our Slack community, Thrive Stack. Not only can you engage with your fellow practitioners, but you'll also get a unique opportunity to connect directly with industry experts and tool builders alike. If you've enjoyed today's discussion, please consider leaving a review comment on the podcast platform of your choice. Feedback makes a big difference. Stay tuned for more insights, more guests, absolutely more demos. Until next time, keep thriving.